Hi, I'm Tom, and this is Adult Game Reviews. That's right. This week, I review Freaks by Bliss. This Honey Select game kind of came out of nowhere for me. Have you seen The Breakfast Club?
Sincerely yours, The Breakfast Club.
Yeah, all those kids were the most suburban bad kids around. Freaks is like The Breakfast Club if you went to public school in a large city. So, let's break down Freaks and see if it's something you'll enjoy. But before that, FYI, if you want to support me, you can like, subscribe, and comment down below. And speaking of commenting, there's still time to enter the $25 Steam gift card. You just have to watch last week's video, like, and comment on that for a chance to win. If you'd like to support me further, you can check out the Patreon or Subscribestar. That's patreon.com/Adult Game Reviews, and the Subscribestar link is in my link tree. Thanks all. Okay, in Freaks, you play the MC who was sent to this weird reform camp due to not being able to keep it in your pants. However, as far as bad kids, you don't even register. You may be more of a rebel than Judd Nelson, but besides one other person, all the other kids got you beat on the childhood trauma scale. Some deal with their trauma inwardly, like not speaking at all, or by wanting to stab everyone. The girls are pretty varied, but more on that later. Visually, this is a pretty standard Honey Select game. The visuals aren't as good as, say, Eternum, but they're decent. People might correct me, but they seem kind of on par with Companion to Darkness, except for the faces, which are a step above the usual Honey Select game. There are animations which are decent, but you may have some stuttering issues. The animations work for me about half of the time, but honestly, I've come to kind of expect the choppy animations from Honey Select and Daz games. In general, I think the visuals are pretty average in terms of usual Honey Select. I tend to like the style, but that's up to you. The audio is pretty good. The audio sets the tone for the game very well, from the creepy to the goofy. The music helps with the atmosphere, and there are sound effects that are used well. All in all, the audio is solid. Now onto the characters. There's a lot to talk about. While YouTube likes to ding me for discussing individual characters for some reason,
and I, for one, welcome our new insect overlords.
It's hard to not talk about them here. Each update explores some of the characters' lives and motivations. However, all the characters are tropes at first, with some, but not all the characters feeling more fleshed out eventually. One of my favorites is Victoria. You can tell she has motivations and experiences outside the main character. As you learn her story, I was able to connect with her more and more. However, then there's a character like Blair. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Blair. She's one of my favorites personally, but as you get to know her more, she's extremely one-dimensional. Other characters like just Victoria and Winter and Delilah, I honestly confuse their stories sometimes. So, while I liked all the characters, Freaks still has a bit of work to do to make some of the characters feel more than just tropes. When discussing characters, we can't forget about Edmund or Ed. This is the first game I can remember where I actually liked the male best friend more than the MC. Ed is awesome, and probably the most complicated and intriguing character in the game. I want to be Ed's friend in real life. He definitely jumps to the top of the list with Chang as my favorite best friend in any game. While I've been enjoying the progression with the characters, we have to discuss the story. So, the story is relatively nonsensical. You and all these people are sent away to summer school to be rehabilitated, or you'll be kicked out of college, which will ruin your life.
I guess that would work.
The broken and jaded teacher and school counselor has everyone do a bunch of stuff that doesn't make a ton of sense. The best part of the game isn't the story, which seems just like a collection of things happening. I honestly kind of ignored a lot of the school plot lines in favor of just looking at this game like a character exploration. The character stories are a lot more interesting and make a lot more sense than any overarching story. At one point you play paintball, and then you have an athletic competition with the private school, and then you go to a Japanese-style spa. I mean, it's just stuff happening. This is my biggest complaint about Freaks, the lack of real story or plot progression. However, the creepy tone and the humor turn what would be a mediocre visual novel into a unique and intriguing one. I mean, many of the girls feel like they should be in the movie Obsession. There were times that I laughed out loud at how weird and creepy some of the girls were being, which I personally loved. By the way, if you haven't seen it, go see Obsession if you're into horror movies. However, as the chapters have progressed, I have felt like the girls and the tone started to ease up on the creepy vibes, which honestly disappointed me a little. Now, don't get me wrong, it can still be creepy later, but I thoroughly enjoyed the vibe, and I hope it leans more into the creep and less into the goofy, which is an interesting juxtaposition. So what did I think? I personally loved Freaks. While familiar in some ways to other Honey Select games, the creepy factor, the humor, and many of the girls help Freaks stand out against what is an average story and a possibly very mid MC. I mean, he's a good fighter, but not sure that warrants all the attention. The good writing helped with connecting to the characters, but the plot design needs work. Even with these issues, Freaks is a play for me. It's on chapter 15 right now, and if you want to wait for it to get further along, I don't blame you. But if you're like me, you can play it for free on itch, so there's no real issue trying it for yourself. I want to thank all my backers on Patreon and Subscribestar, and if you haven't seen my video on what's coming up, including some hidden gems, you can see that right here. Thanks again. Until next time.